Devil May Cry, my favorite video game series. Many of you have pondered what exactly my history is with these games and how is it that I know so much about them. And to the surprise of absolutely nobody, my knowledge mainly comes from having played them a shit ton. In fact, I've platinumed the DMC series, going so far as to platinum the collection twice. Yes, that means DMC 2 100% twice.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
And so in this video, I thought I'd take the time to break down how hard it was for me to platinum all of these series. I'm sure many a DMC fan long to add some of these platinums to their collection, but find it hard to do so, especially considering that these games came from the PS2 era, where games were notoriously difficult for no reason whatsoever, bordering on the absolute cheap when it comes to some of the game design. And thus that brings us to the original Devil May Cry, the title that I ranked as the hardest throughout all of the series in a previous video. And I put this choice down to the lack of a mission select, which means you can't farm orbs efficiently unless you want your mission grade to tank, which means that the loss of orbs and orbs gained from farming essentially just cancel each other out. And the fact that you can't spam items due to a hard item limit. You are essentially forced to play the game and get good, as the term is. There is a single swim approach here, especially to DMD, the hardest difficulty, because if you don't learn the enemies and learn the game, you're not going to complete it and you're not going to get the Dante Must Die trophy. Another standout trophy for me here is The Devil Made Me Do It, which is completing the game without using any yellow orbs or completing the game without using any continues. By and large, the difficulty for this trophy is negated by the fact that you can save after every mission, but clearing some missions without dying, especially if you don't have all too much practice, can get a little bit tricky. I'm looking at you, Mission 22. Good old back-to-back Mundus fights. Yeah, that was a rough one indeed. Another trophy to highlight is I Read You Like a Book, which forces you to get 100% completion on the enemy files. Enemies only do specific attacks on the higher difficulties and the harder difficulties, and they require a little manipulation with the spacing and the timing to get them and goad them into doing specific attacks or attack patterns. So it requires a little bit of knowledge. It's likely the last trophy that you're going to get, considering that you have to go and play the harder difficulties first to get these enemies to do these attacks. All in all, I had an absolute blast platinuming DMC 1, and it was even better to do the second time round in the collection. A lot of my knowledge with this game essentially came from back when I played it on the PS2, and I'd remembered most of my strategies to get me through the game. And that brings us on to DMC 2. Yeah, not necessarily a fan favorite in the community, but hey, I wasn't going to let that stop me from platinuming the entire series. How could I call myself a DMC aficionado if I couldn't get through this? Don't take that seriously. So, this was more tedious than difficult, if anything, and that was by and large due to the difficulty unlock structure. Essentially, to unlock the next difficulty, you had to beat the campaign with both Dante and Lucia, which means that you have to beat the game twice on normal and then twice on hard for you to unlock Dante Must Die, which you could beat with either or character. Another trophy to highlight is over 9,000.
It's over 9,000! What?
The Bloody Palace trophy, which has you, as it implies, beat 9,999 floors of the Bloody Palace with any character, which, yeah, I ended up using Trish with, well, Super Trish, to be honest, and kind of just cheesing my way through it to get me through it as fast as possible. I even did it on stream the second time round. Yeah, Trish is probably the best character to use throughout the entirety of this game because she's got DMC 1 Dante's moveset, which makes things a whole lot better if I'm honest. I think DMC 2 would have been a better game if they just gave Dante his moveset from DMC 1, in all honesty, but hey, DMC 2 is DMC 2, and it wasn't easier to do the second time round. Again, I found myself pondering why I was even doing this, you know. Between platinuming it the first time and the second time, I'd kind of forgot just how bad DMC 2 was, so going into it a second time round, I was optimistic. I was like, yeah, this shouldn't be too bad. This was fairly easy, easier to do than DMC 1, so I should just have a breeze with this, and no, just don't. Well, and that brings us to the golden child of the Devil May Cry series, DMC 3. Coming off the coattails of Devil May Cry 2, 3 was an absolute pleasure to play for the most part. It was fairly challenging, very difficult, but it allows you to, spoiler alert, item spam your way through some of those hard encounters, which I wouldn't normally recommend, but if you're going for the platinum and you want to just bang through it as hard and as fast as possible, then you can stock up on the items to get you through some of those tough encounters. I'm looking at you, Virgil 2 or Virgil 3 on Dante Must Die, which is just a nightmare of a boss. You know, when you're there on your 15th try, as you get Virgil down to probably a tenth of his health before he pops his DT and gets half of it back because he's, spoiler alert, a goddamn god, using those items feels a little bit justified, I shall say. So the difficulty trophies aren't too bad. Another trophy that might cause some people trouble is the Hellish Honor difficulty, which has you achieve an S rank on all missions on any difficulty using any character. Of course, to make things as easy as possible, you can put it on easy difficulty and go through an S rank that way, but you still need to be fast, take a limited amount of damage, and get that style rank up nice and high, which can be hard to do sometimes on easy mode considering enemies die so quickly. But the fact that you have to do it only on one difficulty makes it a whole lot easier. DMC 3, like its predecessor, also has the Complete the Bloody Palace trophy, which, considering this game's fantastic combat system, was an absolute joy to go through, though it is quite tricky. If you are struggling though, you can use the Super Spada outfit, which allows you to use a super character with unlimited DT, but unlike the other super costume, it actually regens your health, making you nigh on almost impossible to kill, as long as you don't take huge heavy hits constantly. One thing to highlight is that I actually streamed my platinum playthroughs of DMC 1, 2, and 3 over on the channel. You can find them in their playlist. Features a young DMC before I even made proper content, losing my shit every time things didn't go my way at every inconceivable moment, which is to say probably 80% of the time, but it goes to show that you don't have to be an amazing player to platinum each of these games. And that brings us on to the next game, Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. As a quick note, the original release of DMC 4 on the PlayStation 3 didn't have any trophies included. This was before trophies were a thing, if any of you can remember, way back when. But that means that the Platinum was only available for DMC 4 just the once with the Special Edition. And oh my god, this fucking Platinum list was brutal. Disgustingly brutal at that. I want to go through this list and show you why. First of all, right off the goddamn bat, you have to S rank all of the missions on Human difficulty, Devil Hunter difficulty, Son of Sparta difficulty, and of course Dante Must Die difficulty. So not only do you have to complete each and every difficulty, so that's 4 playthroughs right there, you have to S rank each of those missions. And let me tell you, whilst those difficulties might not be too bad, even DMD, which 4's Dante Must Die was known for being fairly lenient, those S rank requirements are going to bend you over a goddamn barrel and take you for a joyride. The orb requirement in particular is disgusting. S-ranking the orb requirement in DMC 4 on any mission requires you to get almost 100% of the orbs in the environment. So you have to break every single destructible object, and you have to find and remember to get every single hidden orb cache that you can possibly get, and of course you have to break all of those orb crystals. You can go through and play impeccably, perfectly. You can play fast, you can be stylish, you can take almost no damage. If you forget to break a chair that just blends into the background in a corner of a room somewhere, that will throw off your entire S-rank run, and you have to do this for every single mission 4 times over. And there's 20 missions in a single playthrough. Doing the quick maths off the top of my head,
Quick maths.
Surprise, surprise, that's 80 missions that you need to S-rank to get the Platinum. Ooh, but the pain does not stop there. This game just doesn't know when to quit. You have to beat the Bloody Palace with each of the 5 characters. That is a minimum of 5 playthroughs with Dante, Nero, Virgil, Lady, and Trish. I don't know about you, but I'm more proficient with certain characters than others, and there were many a time where a run died in the mid-90s, and I almost put my controller through my screen, but hey, this is a trophy or a set of trophies that I never want to do again. But it doesn't stop there. This is the trophy list that keeps on giving. You have to beat Dante in the Bloody Palace, who is the final boss on floor 101, so you have to beat 100 waves of enemies to get to him. You have to beat him without taking any damage for the Untouchable trophy, which means that you could get through those 100 floors, you could spend 2 hours getting there. Dante could start off the fight with some ebony and ivory, do some chip damage, and there goes that entire attempt in the bin. An awful trophy, if I'm honest. You can cheese it, but there is always the chance that you could fuck up, and that's, again, 2 hours thrown in the bin. And if things couldn't possibly get worse, they do. There is a set of trophies dedicated to defeating all of the bosses with a triple S rank, which means that when you deliver that finishing blow to the boss to kill it, that style bar needs to be maxed all the way out, which is hard to do sometimes because of the boss attack patterns, which means that that style bar could drop at any given moment, and they can also hit you, sending that bar careening down to basically nowhere near a triple S rank. And sometimes those bosses don't have enough health to allow you to build that style back up, scuffing the entire run. And you have to do this for each and every boss. Wonderful. Just a sadistic, masochistic, whatever word you want to call it. Just know. That brings us to DMC 5 and 5 Special Edition, a reprieve coming off the tail end of DMC 4 SE, though there were some demons to defeat, in the sense that the Worthy of All Legends trophy gave me a bit of a hard time, as it did many of you. That trophy of course requires you to S-rank all of the missions on all of the difficulties, except for Heaven and Hell, though that is a meme difficulty, shall we say, which is why it was omitted from this trophy. Hell and Hell obviously means that you die in one hit and the enemies are ramped up to hard mode. Of course, there is no orb requirement for the S ranks, but if you get hit, you die, which can stop you in a lot of instances getting the S rank, which you already know where I'm going with this. You have to no damage the majority of this difficulty to get the S ranks, which was rather hard. I streamed both of my platinum runs for 5 and 5 SE, both are on the channel, and you can see it gave me a hard time. A very hard time. Definitely was annoying at times, but I persevered and I got through. Bonus round time, let's talk about the DMC reboot, DMC Devil May Cry. I picked it up around launch, the vanilla version that is. I wanted to give it a fair shot, especially considering the hubbub in the community, and I didn't think it was all too great to talk about a game without actually having played it. You know, I gave it a fair shot, didn't like it all too much compared to the original, but hey, I got the platinum, I got my money's worth, shall we say. Of course, nothing to write home about. You could pretty much cheese your way through DMC Devil May Cry with a demon dodge, glitches, and shenanigans. The collectibles were easy to find. Virgil still had his fedora. He still said Yamato real weird, but is what it is. We come to the definitive edition, though, with its 23 pages of patch notes compared to the vanilla version of DMC Devil May Cry, and needless to say, it was an entirely changed game. The trophies, though, were pretty much the same, though there were a few extras that they added where you had to play the game on hardcore difficulty, which made things a tad bit harder, and of course, they included the Virgil's Downfall trophies in with that, but it was all pretty much fairly straightforward. Nothing like DMC 4 SE, thank Mundus. And so we come to my final ranking for the difficulty in platinuming the DMC series. In first place, of course, is DMC 4 Special Edition, to the surprise of absolutely nobody. That game is a nightmare to go through, and I tip my hat to any of you out there who is able to get the Platinum Trophy. In second place, we have a tie, in fact, between DMC 1 and DMC 3. DMC 1 ultimately I think is harder than DMC 3 to platinum, but it is very short to go through. On the other hand, DMC 3 is mildly difficult, but it is incredibly lengthy. Those enemies on DMD are absolute tanks. Insane health pools make things a drag to go through. Next up, we have DMC 5. Again, nothing too wild to write home about in terms of difficulty, with Hell and Hell being the outlier when it comes to getting the platinum. In fourth place, we have the DMC reboots, Vanilla and Definitive Edition. Fairly straightforward to get the platinums. You have the mission mode you can go through, you can get anything you've missed, you can go and target specific trophies. Very easy and straightforward to go through for both versions of the game. And in last place, we have DMC 2. Insanely tedious, not hard at all. In fact, the hardest thing was, again, not taking the disc out and snapping it in half. You know, you might contemplate doing that, but hey, you've got DMC 1 and DMC 3 on that disc, so don't go snapping it. Of course, you might find it incredibly hard to not turn the game off, so for many of you, maybe DMC 2 is at the number 1 of your list. But that is going to bring us to the end of the rankings. Let me know down in the comments below whether you have platinumed any of the DMC series and what you think of this ranking order. Of course, if you enjoyed today's video, do be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing, as there is of course always DMC content on the way. With all that said, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I would like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.